the the topic of binging a show or not binging a television show. Given talking about The Witcher and The Mandalorian, both of those shows had complete opposite releases. The Witcher being on Netflix, they released their entire season of their show at once on one day. You can watch all the episodes if you want. You can just keep watching it. And The Mandalorian, on the other hand, released their episodes weekly, or sort of weekly. I know at first I think they did 2 episodes almost back to back, or there was a couple days in between, but it was mainly an episodic weekly basis type of show. Now, it's definitely, this topic is definitely difficult to come away with a definitive answer whether or not you should be binging, to binge or not to binge. It's an interesting topic to talk about, especially with TV shows now and the way our society is always kind of always looking for the next thing, and we're always looking for the next thing to keep us entertained. But so I'm probably not going to come away with a definitive answer, but as nerds do, I'm a nerd. This is fitting for the show because it's called Nerd Out Sanctuary, like nerds do. I just pulled up my glasses like a fucking nerd. But I made a pro and con list for both binging to binge a show or to not to binge a show. So, pros for actually binging a show. I mean, you get the full story quicker, so that's good for certain shows. Just being able to watch the next episode, especially shows like The Walking Dead, I think heavily would benefit to this. I always enjoyed binging The Walking Dead than watching it weekly. I think watching The Walking Dead weekly, having to wait for a week for every episode, made me stop watching it. That's probably why I stopped watching The Walking Dead. But I went back and binge watched the entire thing. Well, not the entire thing. I binge watched to, I think, season 7 when it was, coming out. But yeah, so you get the entire story quicker. It's better for people who, like me, who want to get their opinions out and their reviews out to you guys, so they can watch these seasons a lot quicker and get their full thoughts on the full story. Because I personally don't believe in reviewing a show episode by episode. I think it's pretty stupid. I think you just overly criticize the episode. I mean, there's certain TV shows that are good for that, like Star Trek: The Next Generation, or just the Star Trek universe shows in general, because they're so episodic. But again, you can watch it on your own terms. You can watch these shows on your own terms whenever you want. 3 episodes here, 3 episodes there, 2 episodes here. You can watch it in your own pace. That's what I usually do. Spoiler, for my opinion, I like binge watching shows. But I mean, I don't I've never watched an entire season of a show in one sitting. I've always watched a couple episodes and then went to do something else or go to bed or something like that. So you can watch it on your own terms. Also, I talked about this just previously. You don't overly critique every episode, and sometimes that's a good thing. But that can also kind of be a bad thing while leading into the cons of binging watching a show. Releasing your entire show and being able to binge watch it is not particularly good for the show itself, because it's not in the limelight as long, I mean, just going, The Witcher, for example, give it maybe another week. I mean, I don't think people are even going to be talking about The Witcher at all until the second season comes out again. I mean, they'll be like, oh yeah, The Witcher, awesome show, fantastic, go watch it, but people aren't talking about it. Compare that to Game of Thrones. I mean, you have a 10-episode season. I mean, people are talking about Game of Thrones for 3 fucking months. Every week you're talking about the previous episode. And that's really good for the episode, because if people are talking about your show, you're making money. Somehow they're promoting your show, and more people are going to flock to your show because they want to get in on the conversations. Excuse me. Sorry, I'm coughing again. Sorry about that, guys. But again, when you're also binge watching a show, there's no time to digest your episodes. With that are like, important episodes to really talk about. Like a great example of this, if you've ever seen Star Trek: The Next Generation, there's an episode, and I believe the third season, it's called Measure of a Man, and that episode deals with Data, and Data being property of Starfleet. Is Data property of Starfleet, or is he an actual living, breathing like organism? I mean, he's not living and breathing, but like, is he a life form? Does he have a soul? Like, can he make his own choices? Is he not property? Can that be property of Starfleet? And that's one of my favorite episodes of Star Trek ever, and it deals with incredibly complex concepts, being artificial intelligence and whether or not they should be treated like living organisms. Like, are they human? If he looks human, if he wants to be human, it's a very interesting episode, and it's an incredible episode. It's so good, and it's worth talking about and discussing and having debates over, because there's arguments for both sides. Maybe Data is property of Starfleet, but that's what the episode deals with. And if you're binge watching a show like that, and you just you watch A Measure of a Man, and then you can just go into the next episode, there's no time to really think and discuss and have this episode marinate within your mind and make it even better. Shows benefit from watching weekly, like Star Trek does. I mean, granted, you have those shitty episodes, so being able to just go to the next episode is always great, because the next episode could be phenomenal. The next episode could be Measure of a Man, but yeah, I mean, you don't get that with a a show that you can binge. But I mean, I think binge watching a show definitely is a more cinematic experience. Like, for example, the first season of True Detective. It's an 8-hour film. It's film quality. It's very cinematic. It's one story. I mean, certain episodes stand out, but it's always I think that's a show that benefits from binge watching it, because it's an 8-hour film basically. So I mean, you can watch it weekly. I mean, again, I'm pretty sure I watched it weekly when it was coming out. But first season of True Detective, one of the best seasons of television you'll ever see. You can skip the second season. I know nothing about the third season. I haven't heard anything about it. I haven't seen it. But first season's banging. First season's awesome. So, again, I think you just have to find out. You have to do, find out for yourself, like, what's best for you. It depends on the show. There's really no definitive answer to whether you should binge watch a show or you shouldn't. Even if it's released all at once, maybe it would be best to, wait. Black Mirror is a good example. Netflix's Black Mirror, they release all their episodes, and they're incredibly episodic, and usually all those episodes warrant a discussion, a debate, because it's a sci-fi show. I mean, when you're usually watching sci-fi television shows, it's probably best to wait after every episode. But anyway, yeah, there's pros and cons to both. If you wait a week and you're discussing the episode and the episode sucks, I mean, you're kind of relating this show, and it's like an overall opinion on the show itself with this one episode. It's like, oh, that episode fucking stinks, therefore the show stinks. But I mean, that's not always the case. Star Trek, sorry to keep talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation, but I mean, the first couple seasons, there were some fucking stankers. Like, some of those episodes are absolute dog shit, like absolute garbage. But I mean, that it doesn't reflect on the show. I mean, the show is still phenomenal. For every, I can't remember the titles of any shitty episodes. Every shitty episode, you have A Measure of a Man, episodes. So, I mean, again, you kind of have to just get your own opinions and, figure out for yourself, basically. There's no right or wrong answer. My personal opinion is I prefer binge watching, but I mean, I'm not like every other, I guess, television or watcher. I guess is the word I'm looking for. I don't know, probably not. It's probably a better word to describe that, but anyway, I prefer binge watching, but I'm not like everyone else who, I usually am able to get every episode and really think about it on my own. And, I can always like recall if discussions come up, but, I prefer binge watching it. It's, with real life being what it is, and there's always something to do, being able to watch it at my own pace is always nice, because if you're watching it if you have having to wait a week, when that show comes out, maybe I can't watch it at that certain point in time. Luckily, we had Disney Plus, so I could have watched the episodes whenever I wanted to. But when it first came out, every week I couldn't watch it at that point in time. So